Hi, this morning I want to talk about my cancer. I was diagnosed with cancer about a year and a half ago, and it was never, primary source was never found, so it is like called cancer of a prime. Good morning. This morning I want to talk about my cancer. I was diagnosed about a year and a half ago, and I had no idea that I had cancer, except that I had a pain or a dull ache in my stomach area, and it was first attributed to a hernia and other ailments, and finally I ended up in the emergency room, and they did a CT scan, proper CT scan of my abdomen then and my pelvic area, and they found 2 or 3 large tumors and a series of nodules. The largest, I think, was about 2.5 centimeters at the time. However, they grew to around 6 centimeters because I wasn't getting proper chemo. I didn't get chemo until the end of May, and I was diagnosed in the middle of February. Anyway, I don't want to concentrate on the negative. I want to concentrate on the positive, because there's just so many videos out there of people with cancer who just become the cancer, and everything is so negative and they sensationalize it. Each video they put up, it just seems so, oh, they did my test wrong, or I got the wrong results, or I don't want to concentrate on that. I want to concentrate on the positive, because I think that's what's helped me make it this far. Apparently, my cancer has a survival rate of about 8% over 5 years, and only 25% over 1 year. So I've made it past the first year. So I'm in the top 25%, if we're gonna call it a competition. And that's another thing. I used to be really competitive, and I was always trying to be a good sportsman, or sportswoman, and display good sportswomanship, but I was always wanted to win. And now I feel like I'm in this sort of marathon of my life. I can't even call it a fight. I don't want to fight it, because for some people it's a fight. They get angry, they want to get that cancer, get rid of it, and as far as I'm concerned, everything in my life has culminated to this. They say that there's some environmental factors and whatnot, but I really truly believe that your health is holistic, and it's a holistic situation where your mind and your body is connected. You can't detach your mind from your body, and vice versa. It's all connected, and more science is proving that. So, for example, they found that obese people have less serotonin in their brain, because it's trapped in their stomach, and so their gut is out of whack, and it's not the serotonin, which is the natural antidepressant, is not traveling throughout their body. It's not traveling to their brain, and they're depressed, and so it's a vicious circle. It's a vicious cycle. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to integrate chemotherapy and diet and lifestyle, and including meditation, and trying to think positive, and not Pollyanna, but realistically positive, You know, I do my research on the latest studies, the latest science, you know, cancer research and discoveries. And for example, they just discovered, a study just came out where it was a small study, 12 people, and they went into remission. They were stage 4, and they went into remission with a certain PD-1 blocker for microsatellite unstable tumors. I have microsatellite stable tumors, but there's a small subset I found out from a Japanese study in 2019 where MSI microsatellite microsatellite stable tumors do respond to this PD-1 blocker, or PDL1 blocker also. So, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I do have some science background. I did study science at the University of Toronto, but I switched over to art history. But I do understand some scientific terminology, and I also learned how to research. I'm not in the field of study that I studied at, that I got my degree in, but I feel like it's helped me live this long. And I think finding out what is happening with your cancer, what the doctors and what the researchers are finding is really, really important. And sometimes your oncologist may not even be aware of certain studies. They should be, but sometimes they aren't. And it's up to you to bring it to their attention, you know, and they should be open to at least look at the study and maybe explain to you why you don't qualify or why it's not approved for your type of cancer, and that sort of thing. But I just thought I'd give a small intro of what's happening with me. I haven't done any kind of video for over 2 years, because I've been dealing with this. I've been thinking about doing a video. I want to help people. I don't know how many people I'm going to reach, but I feel like I must have something to offer because I'm still here. You know, I'm doing something right. And I want to share that with people. And I feel like if I can share that with people, it'll help me get better. So I'm going to put some links below to some of the things that I referenced in this video. And, you know, comment if you want. Try to keep it positive, please. We're all trying to heal here, or understand someone who's trying to heal from cancer. So let's just try to stay on a positive track, and I'll keep you updated. Okay, thank you. Hi again. I want to talk about my diet and what I've done to help me along this cancer journey and healing. I started out with Taxol, which was my first chemo. It was really damaging to my stomach lining and my limbs. I lost feeling in my fingers and toes, and at one point I could barely walk. So I said, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I switched doctors, I switched oncologists, and eventually I was put on gemcitabine and carboplatin. Now, gemcitabine is, it was a lighter treatment, and the carboplatin is like platinum-based chemotherapy. So what I get is the gemcitabine carboplatin the first week, and then the next week I get just the gemcitabine. And the first week with the carboplatin and the gemcitabine, I might get Benadryl, because after around a certain amount of time, apparently 6 treatments or something, may develop an allergy to it. So they give me the Benadryl, and then they have to watch me for about half an hour afterwards. And then I can go home. But it's about like a 4 or 5 hour treatment, all in all, with everything, because they have to water down the gemcitabine sometimes with saline because it burns my skin. It burns my, not burns, but it is like a tingling, burning feeling in my veins. So they water it down with saline. And it takes about 10 minutes longer, like 40 minutes. So they do the carboplatin and the gemcitabine, and then the Benadryl and saline flush. So the next week I go in and I just get, about 40 minutes of gemcitabine, and then I go home. So that's only about an hour. Lately there's been a wait. There's been a lot of chemo patients there. And so, for example, last time I waited 4 hours to get into chemo, to get my chemo chair. But I came prepared because this has happened before. And I bring my snacks, and I make sure I'm prepared. I have my cooling cap in ice, and I add ice to it if I'm waiting for a few more hours. I add ice to my ice box with my cooling cap in it. And the cooling cap is to preserve my hair, because with the Taxol, as you can see, I lost my hair. It was only one treatment, it was like 3 hours, and I just lost my hair within 20 days. And it's taken this long to grow it back. Right now it's like I'm doing the Bridget Nielsen look. And sort of trying to shape it a wee bit, on the sides or whatever, trying to style it to make it suit me a bit better. But for the longest time I'll wear hats, and I didn't want to wear a hat, but I'm so sick of hats. I don't ever want to wear another hat again unless I have to. So I'm really glad it's growing in. And it's not just the vanity of it. I mean, I was more bothered about the nerve damage that I got from the Taxol in my fingers and toes and feet. And my stomach lining, that really hurt me. I mean, I could only eat certain foods, soup and stew, and it was really difficult to digest things for a while. And so I'm just so glad I stopped the Taxol. And I heard that it does affect people, and I see people over at the hospital in walkers and canes and wheelchairs, and it also, if it hurts your stomach lining, you might end up with predisposed to wasting, which affects 80% of cancer patients. Wasting is when that's my cat meowing. Oh gosh, hold on. Wasting is when you start losing the exoskeleton muscles that are just against your skeleton, your bones. So there are a lower layer of muscles that are below your regular muscles. And so it's really difficult for doctors to see whether someone is suffering from wasting. But you can tell because you start losing weight. And part of it is from the tumors. Part of it is when the tumors take over and then they just start basically consuming your body and using up the energy. And so, your body is basically burning off this muscle that you need in order to survive. I mean, this is important muscle here. You can't lose. So I started losing muscle also. I started wasting. I lost about 50 pounds in 2 months. And I was miserable. I mean, with the tumors and the lack of nutrition being absorbed through my stomach lining because of the chemo, and the fact that I could barely eat solid foods. I couldn't even eat rice. I mean, it was really that bad. And I was losing weight fast. And so I had to do something about it. And I looked it up and I researched it, and I found that there are certain diets that help with this. And of course the chemo helps too, because the chemo is shrinking the tumors, and therefore the tumors aren't eating as much of your body. Um, and so with the diet though, let's get to the diet. It's a high protein, um, possibly non-dairy. It depends on what you want. If you want whey powder, if you want to use whey powder and you can tolerate that, fine. But I use the pea powder. I use the vegetable powder. Not that I'm vegan or anything like that. I just find it's easier on my stomach. And I want to stay away from milk products. I only put milk in my coffee, and I have some ice cream once in a while. And maybe some cheese. But also what you need to supplement it with is high quality fish oil. And I take the wild salmon oil. I take about maybe 4 of those a day, for 1,000 milligrams a day. So that's like 4,000 milligrams of salmon oil per day. And I try to include fish into my diet more than red meat. And so that helps with the development of and the maintaining sustainability of your muscles, your exomuscles, muscular system. And the protein helps build the muscle, of course, but it also helps with other things too, like again the holistic situation. And I find that a low sugar diet is excellent for trying to heal from cancer. And some doctors say that sugar doesn't cause cancer, or sugar has nothing to do with cancer. Well, I don't think that's true. I think sugar has a lot to do with cancer. And there are so many publications that back that up. Research publications. You can just go on PubMed and see that there are like tens and of maybe even hundreds of articles about connecting sugar to cancer growth. And it may not cause cancer, but it does feed it, as far as I'm concerned. Again, I'm not a doctor, but this is what I have found from my own personal experience, and what I've seen from other people, and what I've heard from other people. For example, when I first started my treatment, I go 3 months and then I have a scan. And then I go another 3 months and then I have another scan. So we can see the progress of the chemotherapy and also my diet. And my doctors aren't that aware of my diet, because I tried to discuss the wasting with them. And unfortunately at Princess Margaret Hospital, Cancer Hospital, they don't really have a diet department. Like, they have dietitians, but they don't concentrate that much on diet. Their big thing is when you're losing weight from wasting, you have to get as much calories in you as possible, and that's just a fallacy. It's the type of calories, it's the type of nutrition, it's the type of food that you're putting into your body. I mean, I heard of them listing, some of these hospitals listing Burger King shakes as a good choice for to supplement your calories. I mean, that's insanity. I mean, there's no nutritional value. First of all, it's filler and it's sugar. And so you can't really even call it a supplementation. It's just it's sabotage, really. So what you need to do is start eating organic, I've always eaten organic as far as I can remember, as far as it's been, around. I mean, before it used to be just natural food. Now it's called organic and you pay more for it. But eat organic. Try to cut out as much red meat as possible. I do eat red meat once in a while because my iron goes low and I become anemic very quickly. This is because I'm predisposed to it, but also because of the treatment. I also have to make sure that I'm taking magnesium because my magnesium goes really low because of the chemotherapy. And so I have to supplement my diet with magnesium, with fish oil, with daily vitamins. I read that there is a higher chance of survival and longevity if you take a daily vitamin when you have cancer. Now, some doctors don't agree with those daily vitamins, but I take it anyway, just because. Also, I take vitamin C with iron sometimes, but the iron sometimes hurts my stomach, so I have to watch out for that. But I also need to keep my iron up. I eat organic vegetables, organic fruit as much as possible. I don't eat a lot of fruit. The fruit I do eat is organic. I try to stay away from fruit and juice. Sometimes I have intense cravings for pineapple because I think it's because it has bromelain in it, and bromelain is an anti-inflammatory as it is. So I can go out and get a can of pineapple juice and finish it off in one day, just because I'm craving whatever's in the pineapple on it. It's interesting, and I like pineapple juice, which is good. But I really think it's because of the bromelain, and that bromelain you can use for, different things like for inflammation or injury or whatever, and it helps reduce inflammation and swelling. One would imagine if you have cancer, you have inflammation anyway. And some people say that inflammation causes cancer, but again, everybody has their own theories, and I'm just telling you what I do. And I don't want to cause anybody any harm, and I just want to help out. And if you feel like whatever you're doing is not working, then don't do it, because it may work for somebody else, but not you. We have to try to balance everything. Everybody's different, and we all have different cancers, and we have different lifestyles, and we have different access to different food. So I'm just stressing that you should find out what is good for you, what works, and if it's not working, then get rid of it. Don't waste any more time on it. And even if your doctor is convincing, I've had my first oncologist, she was so convincing. I almost felt guilty questioning her. And that actually, just the fact that I felt guilty questioning her, that scared me. And I knew there was something wrong. And I felt I wasn't being heard, and I felt helpless, and I felt hopeless. And I didn't feel like I had any choice in my treatments. And I think that, and I'm not saying just choose a treatment and make your doctor give it to you. That's not how it works. And I'm glad that my second oncologist chose gemcitabine, because it's a good chemotherapy. And it's been really good for me. I've had very few side effects, and I'm really happy, and it's working. It's shrinking my tumors. And again, if you go back to the scans, I was talking about this earlier. I think I veered off, actually. The scans proved that my tumors were shrinking the first 3 months. They shrunk even more the first 3 months than they did the second 3 months. Now, the second 3 months was Christmas. So, I fell off the wagon when it came to like sugar during the Christmas holidays, and I've had a really difficult time. Now it's like July, but I've had a really difficult time getting back on this whole, serious, high protein, low sugar diet. I don't drink pop. I've never really been a pop drinker, except sometimes, when I went to like some, like Subways. I like Subways. If I go there and I get some pop, and I try to make sure it's the real sugar pop, but I know it's bad, and you really need to weigh, if you want to have this pop, you really have to realize that this is going to affect your tumors. And just even saying that is serious. It becomes real, because tumors like sugar, and they like glucose, fructose, and they feed off of that. And so you really need to think about it. You think about, is it worth it? And this is more than just like a diet for losing weight. This is a diet to survive. It's whether you want to live or die. And it's serious. So I think with cancer, you start to really take stock of your life, and you realize what is important. And it sounds so cliche, but it's so simple. And there are very few things that are very important when you have cancer. Your quality of life is important. Your family is important. You're going to lose friends. They're not going to be around because they don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. And frankly, they just don't want to deal with it. It's going to be lonely, and it has been lonely. And that's why I'm doing this video, because I was thinking I have to be able to contribute. I have to help people. And I know that if you can reach out and get outside of your own head, then it's not as lonely. I mean, even if it's just online comments or you don't know these people. I don't know you from Job, watching this video. And but I just hope and I pray that I can help some people. I mean, just that little tidbit of information might change your life, as I've experienced, just small tidbits of information that I've gathered along the way. And I've just basically personalized my cancer treatment plan on my own, and taken what the doctors say with a grain of salt. I'll let them do their jobs, and that's giving me chemo. But on everything else, I'm on my own. Everything else is my decision. And it's going to be really hard, because you're going to have oncologists who are very, forceful people. I mean, you might get a really good oncologist, who's kind and fair, and who will help you out. And that's another choice you have to make. If you want to stay with the oncologist you're with, I guess you have to weigh it, I feel bad going into chemo and seeing people in wheelchairs and walkers. And there's one lady I haven't seen for a while, and I wonder if she's coming back. I hope she's coming back. But she was so thin and so frail, and I wanted to go up and talk to her, but I didn't want to harass her. And it's really sad when these days you think that helping someone is harassing them, but I thought maybe I'll just put a video up on YouTube and help people that way. you know, and you can tell when they're suffering from wasting. It's like there's like skin and bones, and it's a certain look, and you can just tell. Um, they might even be obese. A man came into the clinic one day, and one of the nurses said, "Oh, you lost so much weight," and he and his wife said, "It wasn't on purpose. We didn't want to. I didn't want to lose the weight." And he had a pained look on his face, and you could tell he was struggling with it. It was a really huge thing for him. And I felt like the nurse was not being very sensitive. And I felt like, again, she didn't know about wasting. She wasn't educated on it. When you have cancer, you don't want to lose weight. You want to keep as much weight on as possible. And unfortunately, many obese people die from wasting, but it's not recognized because they have that layer of fat over top of the skeleton, the skeletal muscles. So it's really difficult to ascertain. But chances are, if you have cancer, you have wasting, and it'll start soon. The longer you have the tumors, the more quickly this wasting will set in. So, you know what I was saying, that and that's another thing, we don't have much of a support system either. There's all the support groups are filled until November, and I barely talk to anybody at the chemo center when I go in. I mean, there's so many people there. Like, they see 100 people before, noon. And I don't talk to anyone. I don't know if it's because I don't want to depress them, or I don't want to get depressed, or I have no idea why. I just go in and I get my treatment and I leave. And sometimes I catch myself looking at what they're eating, because there's Tim Hortons in the hospital, and there's Starbucks in the hospital, and frankly, I don't think they should be let in there, because Tim Hortons is donuts. That's what they sell, donuts and coffee. And so these people are sitting there with their donut or their Danish or their carb-filled snack and their sugar-laden coffee before they go into chemo, and I'm thinking, what's the point? But I don't want to judge, but I wonder, how much do they know about this? But and I don't think that there should be Tim Hortons or Starbucks in the hospitals. It's not right. It's not right. They should have grocery stores with organic food. I mean, I know it's kind of ridiculous, people walking around with a head of lettuce, but something that would offer more nutrition. Anyway, so maybe I'll do another video on what's in my shake that I make, my protein shake. I noticed that there are some people with cancer on YouTube that use wheatgrass, and wheatgrass is good. It's got certain nutrients in it that help heal the cancer, and there have been studies on it, studies on wheatgrass and how it helps. There were studies on many other sort of medicinal herbs, ancient Chinese and Asian herbs that help with cancer. And so I buy certain protein shake mixes with those herbs, like spirulina and that sort of thing. And then I add a bit of wheatgrass in my shake, and maybe sometimes I put a banana in for potassium, because I find that I crave potassium also. Um, uh, on top of things, I crave magnesium, potassium, pineapple, all these things. You have to listen to your body. If you're craving something, um, then you know that your body needs it. And I'm not talking about chocolate and candy and sugar. I'm talking about odd cravings that you didn't get before, except maybe if you're a woman and you're pregnant. um, it's almost like that, where you almost get this like overwhelming craving for something, and you have to go and get it. Like, I have to go get some pineapple, you know. And it's to make it enjoyable too. I mean, you can have a low sugar diet and a nutrient packed diet and still have flavor. And this is something that I've been practicing for a long time. And you don't need the sugar for taste. You don't need all the salt for taste. Um, I think it's just what we're used to in our diet, in our Western diet. We're used to a lot of artificial flavoring that trick our bodies into thinking that it tastes good, but it's not good for you, and it doesn't taste. And if you don't have it for a long time, right? You cut it out of your diet, and then you go back to it like several months later, and then you taste it, it's like, ugh, what do I like about this? This is horrible, you know. But anyway, okay, maybe I'll do another video, and I'll show you how to make my shakes in the morning, and what I add, and we'll discuss that next time. Have a good day.